Zohar Chelik Beis Parsha Truma Daf Kuf Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph Ksiv B'Naos Tedshא Yarbitzeni. So continuing the concept of Tedshã, another pasuk says, in pleasant Tedshã, in pleasant grasses Yarbitzeni, you will lie me down. Naos Tedshã, so the pleasant grasses Yilain Inun Mekorin Ilain. These are supernal sources. Remember, the Tedshã can also be the concept of each conduit of flow, like each blade of grass. Then he says Netzach v'Hod Dezah, that these supernal sources of flow are Netzach and Hod of Zeranpin, perhaps similar to the concept of the mutzakos of a menorah or something. The Chol Mezon of Sipuka Asiminaihu, that all sustenance and satiation come from them, similar to also the idea of the Netzach and Hod, the Shochak in Man, the Tzadikim, and so forth. Look what it says about the idea that you have the concept of the advice, which is Netzach and Hod, I guess like the Klios, the kidneys. The two of them, Netzach and Hod, are the advisors. And here he brings it. That Netzach and Hod are called the grinders. And the millstone, Shetochanin Man, Latzadikim, that grind the man for the tzadikim. Vayin Zohar, Suf Pashas Balak Tafri Shud Beis Suf Mud Beis B'Mayani Heishoy, Lein Abba Ve'ima. Look what it says in Zohar Balak about the well springs of saving are Abba and Ima. Davar Acher, another way to explain it, Yilein Netzach ve'Hod, the Mayanos are Netzach and Hod, they're the well springs. Like he's saying here that these are Mekorin Iloin, the nose Tedshã. Vayin Bir Ele Maseh Drush Hashinim in Netzach ve'Hod. Vayin Zohar Vayetze Al Pasuk Vihini Shlosha Edritzon Rovtzim. Look what it says in Zohar Vayetze about three groups of flocks of sheep that are resting. So again, the concept of Yarbitzeni and what that has to do, and you have three Edritzon, perhaps Nehi. But he hasn't been masbir yet the concept of Yarbitzeni. V'ayin bid dibur hamaskalam natzeach al hashminis, which I guess corresponds with the Mila or Yisod. So I guess Yarbitzeni might be the concept of Yisod, whereas Neos Tedshã, the Mekorin line of Netzach and Hod. Neos Ilain Ikrun, Neos Yaakov. So Neos is from the language of the dwelling places of Yaakov. We can say because Netzach and Hod are called the learners of Hashem, Netzach and Hod limudei hatiferes, because Netzach and Hod are learned from, or receive from Tiferes, hanikra Havaya, which is called Hashem Havaya, therefore the limudei Havaya. Gam ima hanikra limud, also the mother, which is called learning. Ad sham mispashetes, stretches out until there, because it doesn't reach until Yisod, because the Yisod of ima is katzar ad kanashon. Vayim Zohar Parshas Emor Dat Tzadik Amud Beis Shemisham Shorish Hanavim Vim Nikraim Limudei Havaya. Also see in Zohar Emor that Netzach and Hod, that's where the Nevi'im come from, and they're called the learners of Hashem. L'chein heim nikraim Neos Yaakov. That's why they're called the dwelling places of Yaakov. So Yaakov being Tiferes, and so if they're the dwelling places of Tiferes, they receive from Tiferes, they're, I guess, Neos Yaakov. Neos Desha, and why they called the pleasant dwelling places of the grasses, not the dwelling places, the place of where the grasses are, fields of grass. Begin the east Neos Lebar, because there's another kind of Neos, another kind of open space, the Ikru Neos Midbar, that are called the dwelling places of the desert. Perish Netzach V'Hod the Nukva Nikra Midbar, and that's Netzach Hod of Nukva, that's called the desert. That's the Neos. So because if we say the Neos is Netzach and Hod, so Netzach Hod of Midbar is the desert. Valderach Benos Desha, Valda Benos Desha, and that's what it means, the dwelling places of the grasses. I'm saying Netzach Hod of Zah. Hainu ki Neos Desha zeu mashin nimshach min Netzach v'Hod Zah. And that is that the dwelling, the fields of grass is what is drawn from Netzach Hod of Zir Ampin through Netzach Hod of Malchus. Shemisham Nimshach Nevuah, from there comes the prophecy. Like he said, that's the concept of Neos Yaakov. V'gam lihiyos b'chinas lemudei havai, also to be the learners of Hashem, of Havai, of Tiferes. So he brings all the concepts together and explains them as one idea. Well, if he's a Pirush Desha, according to this, we can say what is Desha? Then the grass is Kai al Esek HaTorah. That's the concept of Torah study. The Kemoshikos of Hashach Asif Sekoin Tadsheh Hainu Eish Das. That is probably the Shach in the Torah. So it says that Tadsheh is the fire of knowledge. Again, so that's a Perush of it referring to Esek HaTorah. And so Neos Desha, Neos is Netzach and Hod, and Desha would be the Tiferes, or the Yaakov, or the concept of Torah. Eish Das. V'chein b'likuti Torah Parsha Zazinu b'dibur ha'maskal Zinu Hashamayim Durusha Shlishi Perek Zayin Gabi Kesi'irim Alei Desha. There in Hazinu it also says, like rains upon the Desha, the grasses, Dahainu Esek HaMishnayos, that is toil in the study of Mishnayos. So there, that is the toil of the Desha is Mishnayos. Va'aretz he Torah Shebal Peh, and the earth in that context is the oral Torah. And the produce from the oral Torah is the toil in Mishnayos. And if you want to ask, it's written that the earth should produce Desha. The ha'ihu l'sata, that it is below. El deshem inu neos asya, but desha comes from these neos. So that implies that the desha is below the neos, below Netzach and Hod. Tadsheh ha'aretz, that the aretz is malchus, and desha comes from the aretz. But you can say that desha comes from the neos and not from the aretz. That it's born and it grows from them. And it says on the Shulei Hagilai on Chaser Siyama Chatze Igul, we don't have the end of this Chatze Igul. So we see from this Heim Netzach v'Hod Dechura, that this Netzach and Hod that the Desha is coming from is the masculine. Bechinas bein shvili hazera ad galashono, which are the bein, which are the paths for the seed. That's the end of the quote of L'chora Likuti Torah Parsha Sazino. No, he says ad gan lashon hamikdash melech. So that's the end of the mikdash melech on that Zohar. Perhaps the one that's brought in Likuti Torah Parsha Sazino. So this is similar to how it's explained in Zohar Beraishis, V'tzadik tzvos ikri. So tzadik is called tzvos. My time I begin the chol tzvos mishir yani line mini nafkin. That all the hosts and armies, supernal armies, come out from there. So the concept of Yisod, which is tzaddik, is also called the name tzvos. It comes from there. Tzvos hem netzach v'hod, but in general, the shem tzvos is not tzaddik, it's not Yisod, but netzach and hod. The hainu shehim hamekrikim hashaf. That is to say that they are the ones that pour out this flow Yisod to Yisod. V'u'aydi hamalchus molid tzvos u'mashirion. And this is through Malchus that gives birth to these hosts and armies, Eloin Bibiyah, these supernal armies in Bria Tzirasiya. So that's why Yisod would be called Tzadik Tzvos. The Hine B'Torah or Parshas Vayechi B'Dibur HaMaskil Osri Legefen Perush U'Kedoshim B'Chol Yom Yalucha. So there in Torah or it explains that all those holy ones every day they praise Zusha B'Chinas Yotzer Misharsim Nikra U'Kedoshim B'Chol Yom, that the ones that he creates every day as opposed to Hashem Misharsav, they're called the holy ones in every day. Kedoshim B'Chol Yom Yalucha Salah. And through their understanding and grasping their creation, every day from nothing to something. That's the concept of, and your name is holy. They praise to be included in and to be nullified in their source. That's why they're called the holy ones. That's because they grasp the concept of your name is holy. That's why they're called holy ones. But Israel are the ones that sanctify the name. They themselves sanctify the name. There I come from the higher level of you are holy, not just your name is holy. They draw from the concept of you are holy to the concept of your name is holy. That's why they're the Mekad Shmecha, sanctifying the name. And that's the concept of the fruit tree that also is fruit. Over the concept of the grasses, which we say are the malachim, but the fruit tree is compared to man, Adam Eitz Sadeh, and therefore they're higher because they're from the concept of Mechkad Sheshmecha. Like it says before this in Sif Zayin. The Perush Tadsheh Aretz Desha, and since it's come out to us that the earth should produce grasses. That's the concept of from the concept of Neot Desha, which we said was Netzach Vehod, Hainu Netzach Vehod, the Chura of the masculine, and they receive from above that, from Yaakov and Tiferes and Limudei Havai and so forth. We can also say that this is the concept of that he renews constantly every day the works of creation. That this Netzach and Hod, the flow from it comes from, originates from Chachma and Bina Train, the rain, from the two friends, Ayin V'yesh Chulu, the nothing and the something. But the difference between the grasses and the grass that has seeds of grass, that is the desha, or the grasses that comes up on its own from the earth. So that's the difference. So in Esav you have to plant, I guess. Umazriya zera, and the planted seeds. That's Esav Mazriya zera. Who are nimshach ha'idei ha'alos ma'in nukvin chulu, that comes through the efforts from below. It's also a concept of grass, but it comes through effort. But since they're a similar concept, so the first grasses comes from the constant yichud, the external yichud of Chachma Bina, which is constant. So it comes up on its own. And the second one from the inner concept of Chachma Bina, which is not tadiri. It's not constant. And it comes through our efforts to get a deeper union and flow from Netzach and Hod, which are the grasses. Look over there.